Today on the program, my first rice lager. There is a brewery in town called Arbeiter, and they made a Tokki rice lager. There you can see Arbeiter. You can see what it looks like here on their webpage. We got some, not just some, we got a lot of details about how they make this beer from their brewers, and I made a version of it. We got the recipe. I designed a recipe for similar IBUs. I did go a little higher on the gravity. We talk about that coming up, but we also got from our good friends at BSG, and by we I mean Chip and another neighbor on Blair Avenue. We're all doing some rice lagers. We got these 2 sacks, and we've got the crisp torrefied rice is what we have here, and then we have the raw North Star pills. So the recipe I did is 40% rice, 60% pills. So that's, you know, a lot of rice for what I have ever done in the rice format. Another local brewery, and I have some comments coming up that are not quite accurate, so I'm clarifying it now in this intro. Falling Knife, they did a rice lager. Theirs is called Lucky Cat, and we went up there to drink it, and the brewer was there, Tom Berg, and he gave us some info on their process. So I kind of took his process, which was basically like mashing quite low, and you'll see what I mashed at, and I just made this beer. The other thing is the Arbeiter beer uses Pilgrimage lager yeast, and Imperial was super cool, and they sent a pitch explicitly designed and created for me to use in this beer, and you'll see a picture of what they sent, and I used it and made the beer. Last note is I used torrefied rice, which is what is in this sack, and so that's a little different than flaked rice. However, the nice thing about it is you can just use it directly in a single infusion mash, and that is what I did. So I'm shooting this intro now after the beer has been done, and after I actually just got back from tasting it with the Arbeiter Brewer. So you can watch the footage coming up, and then the tasting notes will be at the end. Here's a shot of the ingredients. 6 pounds of North Star pills, 4 pounds of torrefied rice, and maybe at least a half a pound of rice hulls. This bag is over half full, and it was a pound. But look at this stuff, people. I mean, it's really interesting. I've used flaked rice. I don't know the exact difference. It seems to be in format because they both can be mashed without a cereal mash, but it will be interesting. Hopefully it'll lauder. So here is the mash, and as you can see, that is what I'm gonna mash at, 147. That is somewhat low, but when I was talking to the brewer at Falling Knife, Tom, where this kind of idea, well, whatever, the inspiration for this beer, he said something like, well, they did it really low as well, but then he said something like there's science that says that you can go even lower, like 143 or 4 or something, and I'm not going to do that, but 147, that's as low as I have ever gone. So that combined with a good healthy amount of yeast, we will see what it gets down to. It has been an hour, and the temperature was reading 146, 147, so didn't really lose much temperature at all. I did have a couple blankets over the top of it, And I'm now going to dump in all of these rice hulls. Probably overkill, but you saw how powdery the flaked torrefied rice was. So I'm going to stir this all up, take the temperature, add in the mash out water, and hopefully the lautering will go all right. So I estimated I had at least 8 ounces of rice hulls, maybe 10, maybe more, and as you can see, it's running out just fine. I mean, that's a normal rapid flow for me, so I'm happy about that. First runnings were a little over 14 bricks, so we just have to collect the first runnings, then do the sparge. Here is a picture I took of the pre-boil wort. Look at that color. Very light. Alright, so here is my 1 hop edition, Hallertau Mittelbräu. And we're coming to a boil. So once it starts fully boiling, I'll start the clock. That's going to be it for the hops. 1 ounce of 2.8 alpha acid should get me the IBUs I'm looking for of about 11 to... My calculator said 12, but right around there. Chip reminded me that Arbeiter does a 10-minute boil edition, so I figured why not. I was, for fun, going to do one at flame out. To give it a little more flavor and aroma. It will make the IBUs a little higher, but I mean honestly, 1 to 2 ounces of 2.8% alpha acid beer and a 1050 alpha acid hop and a 1050 beer is still not that much. I mean, it is not going to be overly hoppy or bitter. So, and then I won't do a hop stand. So as soon as this gets to the end of the boil in 10 minutes, I'll start chilling. All right. Everything's looking pretty good. This is going to be over 1050, 1054-ish. And here is this cool thing that Imperial sent us. Big shout out to Imperial through the Chop and Brew hookup. Pilgrimage is apparently not available year-round, or maybe not available to home brewers. So what they did is they figured out, with the amount of beer we were going to brew and the gravity, they figured out we needed 0.3 liters of, I don't know if it's like a slurry, if it's pure yeast. I mean, it smells great. It looks essentially kind of like a yeast starter. So anyway, I already have 5 1/4 gallons, so I will have a little more than I need for... Oh, that was interesting. It looks sort of not very yeasty. So shake, shake, shake. Stir, stir, stir. I can also do a quick little rinse of water here if I need. Okay, that looks more... So yeah, it was like on the bottom. At any rate, I'll get this all buttoned up, and then my plan is I'm going to pressurize ferment it and try to keep it as cool as I can. Here we are about 10 hours after pitching, and as you can see, we do have definitely activity. Now I had a blanket covering around, and I've done this before in the past, and then I haven't tried it recently. And the idea is if you put these ice jugs and ice packets, and if you have enough of them, and then you cover with a blanket, it sort of creates like a fermentation chamber, almost like a temperature controlled changer. But I don't know if it's really getting me that cool yet. I have a number of jugs in the freezer right now, though, so more than I have right here. So I'm going to load this thing up and see what it is in the morning. And as you can see, the pressure is definitely building. Let's see. That's 15. That's 10. So we're at about 8. I think I have it set at like 10 or so. So it's definitely building, and good to see that it's going. It's the next morning, and I just took off these blankets that like I said, I had laying over the top. And what's interesting is that the fermenter reads about 64, but the quote-unquote room that it's in reads about 54. So that's good. I mean, it was 69, so it got down to 64. So that's pretty good, especially for fermenting under pressure, which it was up to about 14. And I released some. I can hear it off-gassing, so I'll kind of see where it stabilizes. But I'm going to swap out about these. I have about another 4 ice jugs, so I'm going to swap them all out and we'll keep it as cool as we can. So I got to get these ice jugs out of here and get a temperature. Let's see if I can aim it at the beer here. 39? Wow, that's 30 degrees colder? Damn. I'll see if I can, what it says on the thermometer, if I can get a reading, but that would be, basically I was trying to cold crash it without having a fridge, just to get it as clear as possible, and I'm going to add gelatin, but I'll get the final temperature here in a bit. Out of there, so we'll see how it looks today. But when we were having it, previously, and we did a 3-way thing, it was like definitely the clearest one that we had.
Oh man, look at that.
That's really cool. Let's see.
Which one is which? Yours
on the left.
The pros on, well, it was on the outside. Okay. Dude, that got really clear for having just been in a bungled up keg a little bit. Dude, that's awesome.
Gelatin. Gelatin, sure. And a bit of a...
Your shoulders are the frames.
Okay. Is it rolling?
Yes.
Here we are at Arbeiter with brewer Aaron. Thanks for having us. Thanks for sharing the Arbeiter version of Tokki?
Tokki. Yep.
Okay, hard K. We got the information on the Tokki beer from Arbeiter, and that was what I was imitating with my recipe, which is here. I wasn't going for an exact clone. I was actually aiming to be a little bit over on the gravity, but then because of rice, I got even more so over on the gravity. So mine is about 6%, 1054 to 1.008. Yours is like 4.6%.
It's like 10.8 Plato down to 2.4 Plato. So do the math.
So mine is a little higher and maybe a little lower.
What did it finish? 10.08?
Yeah, that'd be more like 2, I guess.
2, yeah. So yeah, it would be a little lower, yeah.
But yeah, it's been really fun doing these first initial sips. I've really enjoyed my own beer that I made with this recipe. It's like August 28th, 29th today. I brewed it June 25th. So that's 2 months from brew day. And it's been in the keg for like a month and a half. And it's gotten very clear with the kind of the cold crash I did and the gelatin. The Arbeiter one is also extremely clear. Now, do you guys do a filtering process?
Yep.
Do you do that on a lot of beers or just ones that you really want extra clear?
Mostly the ones I want extra clear. So pretty much all lagers I'll filter. I used to filter the West Coast IPA, but I kind of gave up on that just to save on the pads themselves.
Okay.
So I have a lenticular filter right over there that I can back flush those pads.
Okay.
So just to kind of save on. So pretty much like only like the Arbeiter beer, RB Lime in the summertime, and then like alt and other select ales will I filter. I filter pretty much all lagers.
Yeah. They're both very clear. They're similar in flavor. What I was going to say is, I find it, the word I use is I'm so tickled when I drink this beer that I made, and I find it kind of ironic that I'm so pleased with probably the lightest beer that I've ever made, which is counterintuitive to why you get into brewing, to make beers that you can't just go buy. Kind of on that note, can you talk about, first of all, maybe like why Arbeiter was interested in using rice and to make the rice lager, and is it a style that you see in the industry? Is it anything that people are kind of developing an interest in? You want to talk about any of that for a second?
By all means. So Tokki, just the word itself is, it's rabbit in, I believe, Korean. So the first iteration of this beer was a couple of years ago for a Lunar New Year, or like Korean Asian New Year celebration.
Okay.
We call it a Korean rice lager. There is admittedly nothing explicitly like Korean about it.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a marketing thing because we do have some Korean ownership here at Arbeiter Brewing.
Sure.
And yeah, the branding is really fun. It's a fun little kind of like cartoony like rabbit.
Asian animation kind of.
Not so much. A little more like kind of like bright Arbeiter coloration with not so much like Asian animation stuff, but kind of cartoony, just bright colored rabbit. So that was and it was actually one of the Juno Choi's, one of the owners. It was his essentially recipe and specs, and it was my job to kind of like hit those as close as I could. And up until this beer, the Kolsch that I had made a little while previous to this was up until like to date like the lightest, cleanest beer that I had ever made.
Okay. But now this one would be?
This one is, and I'm actually kind of, I always like, now that we're brewing it more and more, but like the first 3, 4, 5 times we made it, like every time it came on the filter, it kept surprising me at how light in color it in fact is. It's like, man, like so no beer looks this quite pale in you.
What's the appetite for that beer? In your tap room, and you also can it as well.
People are loving it. People are absolutely loving it. There's a few other rice lagers around town. I'm maybe embarrassingly the last one you should be asking about, kind of industry trends and stuff. I always have my blinders on around here and just kind of brew what I like to brew, and and then if it sells well in the tap room, we'll eventually revisit it. Someday. But Tokki was a hit like immediately, so it's fast become one of our house beers, one of our staples, one of our flagships now. It did very well this past spring at the Minnesota Craft Brewers Cup.
Sure. I saw you got an award.
It won it got first place, and we entered it into like an international lager category. It got a first place in that category, which put it, in the running for best in show. And this year the Guild did first, second, and third best in show, and it ended up being second best in show, sandwiched in between a couple IPAs from Summit and Surly.
So it's a customer favorite and does well, and then from technical judging perspective, it does well. I also have seen a rise in Pilsners.
Oh yeah,
absolutely, in the last number of years, or even like American light lagers too. And so it is, again, it's kind of counterintuitive to have your craft breweries that were once rebelling against the American macro breweries, and now they're making similar kinds of beer, and even with same types of ingredients. Premium price though still. You're not gonna get it for a 30 pack for $15, but
unfortunately,
but it's now from the brewing perspective, do you find it a challenge to use rice? And I think you used the torrefied rice,
correct,
as I did, and you saw it in the beginning of my video when I'm putting my hand into the stuff, and I'm just like,
it's weird.
It's weird. Do you find it? If you want to touch upon any challenges in brewing, and then
I guess let's see, brewing wise, I use rice, so I guess my system.
Is the lagering harder with it for you, or is it just that's not a factor?
Not a factor.
Oh, interesting.
Having a commercial brew with glycol jacketed tanks, these tanks are designed to keep beer cold.
No, I mean when you're mashing it, and then the running out the word.
Oh, you said louder.
Yeah,
I
not
thought
lager.
you said lager. I'm like, lagering's no problem.
Sorry.
I can lager at our
We'll cut that out.
Yes, the loudering.
How is the?
Yes. Sometimes I'm still kind of learning when the sparges, like when the runoff gets sticky on me. And I kind of have a feeling that it's like a function of like what percentage of rice hulls. And
so you would put rice hulls in?
I do use rice hulls.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And I still need to kind of do some like bench tests, so to speak, to see if that torrefied flaked rice, if it essentially just kind of, since it is gelatinized already, I think it might just kind of turn to sugar and like completely dissolve. I think. So then if I overload on rice hulls, like I think the rice hulls actually clog my false bottom because they're kind of coming through the barley matrix. Like anyways, so again, this is all kind of like theoretical for me right now because yes, sometimes I will have a bit of a stuck sparge with Tokki, and I'm starting to surmise that it could be a function of using too much rice hulls.
And from the homebrew level, everyone knows your own system. You saw what I did. I did use some rice hulls, and that was absolutely no problem.
Yeah.
You know,
other times we brew this beer, and it's like we run off in 90 minutes or less. Get really good extract and good efficiency.
And you get a little more extract from the rice than the barley. Would you say?
No, it's about the same, I think, if not maybe a little bit less.
Oh, okay.
I want to say. So I was actually just kind of whittling on a recipe for another cold IPA that I'm brewing this weekend, actually. And I used a previous cold IPA's recipe as a foundation, and that was using a partially gelatinized rice flake product. And then when I swapped out, I'll be using the same crisp torrefied rice for this upcoming beer. So when I swapped those two rice products out in Beersmith, the overall gravity went down.
Okay.
So
I just know that I know that myself and then my neighbor, when we made our rice beers, and I don't know if Chip would say the same, but we got more gravity than we expected. And we all attributed that to the rice because we've used barley like 100,000 times. So that was our experience.
That's curious.
But obviously it lightens the color.
Oh yeah.
Now, do you feel like, and we can taste these and try to do a quick comparison, but do you feel that the rice adds a qualitative flavor? Or does it almost is it the absence of flavor?
Right. I think it's kind of a little of both, actually.
Okay.
If that makes sense, or if that's a legitimate answer.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I'd say especially during fermentation, I feel like it is kind of like ricey, earthier than just like a straight up like barley fermentation.
Talking about the smell?
Just the smell and kind of like the visceral experience you have with the beer when you're as you're monitoring it through fermentation and getting it ready to lager. But yeah, it's almost like the rice doesn't really have a flavor per se, but obviously it doesn't taste like a full-on 100% barley beer either.
It doesn't taste like, I've made many pills beers, right, with like 100% pills, and that has a certain characteristic. Corn, I feel like certainly gives a unique, identifiable flavor that you attribute to the corn, but it is almost like it's like a vacuum or a placeholder of it gives it gravity, it lightens the color. They're both of these beers are just they're
essentially the same
similar, man. I have to say that I imitated the recipe, so the ingredients, are about the same. I think the IBUs are approximately the same.
Sure. Well, your percentages are the same, so regardless of the alcohol content, right? The percentages are comparable enough, so they're going to look the same.
They look like, about as similar as you're ever going to get from like a homebrew to a pro level, so that's rad, that's cool.
It's super cool, yeah.
And they also, they taste similar too. I think I commented yours might be the slightest bit either drier or thinner, but that's because technically it is
It had less sugar.
thinner in it, I guess. I mean, I have a 1% or plus more alcohol in mine, but I mean...
Which, yeah, again, the alcohol is going to kind of contribute some sweetness, maybe in a yeast, even if you're like this, maybe even some like chewiness, some body, so to speak, just because there is more stuff in there, even though it did finish a little bit drier than mine.
About the same, but yeah. No, I've been waiting for this possibility of drinking my homebrew that I've been so happy with next to what it was modeled after. So cheers. Thanks for having us.
Sure, yeah.
Well, thank you again for having us. Nice to meet you in person.
Likewise,
Also,
likewise.
Fish fan. They're playing on tour now. Final weekend.
Night one in Colorado tonight.
That's well, Thursday.
That's tonight.
I thought it was Friday.
They've been doing 4-day runs.
Okay.
In Colorado the last. I think this is the third, maybe even fourth year they've been doing a 4-day Labor Day weekend run at Dick's Sporting Goods Park.
Yes, sir.
In Commerce City, Colorado.
That's correct.
And I'm not having fun about it at all.
Yeah. Thank you to BSG once again for the rice and the North Star Pills. Thank you to Imperial for the personalized yeast pitch.
Imperial's the best.
I got an actual, you saw it, I got an actual container from them via chip, and it worked perfectly. And this has been fun, and I feel like I will use some more torrefied rice in some beers. I've been loving my cream ales and my cream lagers, which is the corn and flake maize, or flaked rice, flake maize, and I've been loving those. Again, like making lighter beers.
Have you made cold IPAs yet?
I've made a cold IPA.
The cold IPA is it's the same, essentially the same grain bill, but you know, actually, it would be the same grain bill for you.
Yeah.
same quantities of grain, maybe maybe a little bit more. Give yourself.
I made a cold IPA. I think I used some rice and some sugar.
Oh yeah.
Also, and it was like bigger gravity, more hops. But yeah, I think I think I could easily put some rice into a cold IPA and like hop it up and increase everything and do it up right. So, all right. Well, thank you once again. Thanks for watching.
My pleasure.
Catch you later.